If you're a people pleaser like me, it might be really hard to say no when somebody asks for help. But sometimes you get that gut feeling that something's just a little off. And this story might make you reconsider always saying yes. During the COVID-19 pandemic, my friend Julia and I got into roller skating as a hobby. It was something we could do outdoors, less exhausting than running, and also kind of a challenge. Roller skating had been super easy when we were children, but now it seemed so much harder. As children, we tripped and fell all the time, but as adults, every fall can potentially result in an injury, so I struggled a little, especially with keeping my balance. When autumn and then winter came, we couldn't skate outside anymore. There wasn't a roller rink in our city because it wasn't that popular of a sport anymore, and all the places had closed down back in like the 80s. But there was still a small community of roller skaters around. We connected on Instagram, and they invited us to join their weekly free training sessions at a local community center. Amazing. It wasn't far from the area where we both lived, just a bus ride of about 15 minutes. But the area was, admittedly, kind of sketchy. There were these tall, gray, dilapidated buildings that didn't stand closely together, as is typical in the middle of a city. Instead, there were these dark, shadowy spaces between the buildings, overgrown with bushes and trees, and dirty lawns littered with old newspapers and cans. The community center was a small, one-story building crouched on one of those patches of lawn. The atmosphere was a little creepy. Luckily, the bus stop was pretty close. After dark, when we would leave the community center, the bus stop was the only island of light. Standing there, waiting for our bus, made us feel kind of safe, but at the same time, it gave us an uneasy feeling.
Come on, bus.
If there was someone hiding in the shadows around us, they would have been able to see us clearly. We, on the other hand, could see nothing but bushes and trees, and the few lit windows of the towering buildings. There were never any people around either. So one frosty evening, we had just arrived at our stop. The bus came to a huffing halt, and the doors opened. It was already dark, and the bus stop was the only light, as usual. But today, something was different. There was an old man just standing there. It looked like he was simply waiting for the bus. But when the doors opened, he didn't get on. And when we passed by him, he suddenly turned his face towards Julia and said, "Excuse me." We both looked at him. He was kind of staring into the distance. He said, "I'm blind, and I need someone to guide me home." Only then did we notice the stick in his hand. So without thinking much of it, Julia agreed to help. We still had a little time before the meetup, so the man took the arm she offered, and they slowly went down the road. Kind of strangely, the man explained to Julia exactly where they had to go, what landmarks to pass, to get to his building, etc. He was giving her exact directions, kind of sometimes using his stick. I fell a little behind them, being very quiet, because I thought, nothing can happen, right? There are two of us and only one of him. I'll follow and keep an eye on things. I could get help if we needed, if he tries something. Kind of a paranoid thought. But then again, maybe he's just as helpless as he says he is. All a pretty typical case of a woman being too polite and people-pleasery, I guess. The man asked Julia to guide him through some kind of open doorway, like an arch, into the courtyard of a large, dark building. There were many doors on both sides and absolutely no people in sight. With an uneasy feeling, I stayed under the arch while Julia agreed to guide the man to his apartment. Apparently. I stood there waiting, shivering in the cold. Suddenly, I felt a presence behind me. I turned around to see the silhouette of a stocky, broad man standing a few feet away, just outside the arch. He just stood there, staring into the courtyard, 2 plastic bags in his hands. He was blocking my way out, our way out. I froze. Were there 2 of them after all? After a moment, though, the man said something. I didn't catch it at first. Seeing my confusion, he stepped closer into the dim light of the courtyard so I could see his face. Then he gestured toward the blind man who was being led farther and farther down the path by Julia and whispered, "That man, he's not blind. Every night he waits at the bus stop for a pretty girl." Then he just walked away. I swallowed hard and looked over at Julia. She had just reached a door. The blind man was fumbling for his keys. I called out that it was time to go. At that second, the man's head snapped up. He was clearly startled. Julia looked at me, then back at him, then quickly said, "Goodbye," and ran back. She was spooked now, too. We hurried back toward the arch, but when I looked back, the man was still standing there, keys in hand. His head turned toward us, his eyes kind of following us. Could he see us, or couldn't he? Looking back on it all, it seemed weird that he needed someone to take him to his own home like that. I don't know, maybe not. If he could give directions that well and he had the stick, I go back and forth on it. Was the other man right, and this had been some kind of ruse? There had been other people getting off the bus at the same time that we did. A man and an older couple. But he asked the young, blonde girl for help. Of all people. What would have happened if Julia had gone into the building with him? Or was the other guy just bad-mouthing him and he really was blind? We had a lot of questions afterward, but we never saw the blind man again.